Okay, so the background on this is that Earl he sent me a friend request somewhere, I think in 2018. Um, because I guess I was like kind of an up and coming activist in the area. I didn't really know who he was. And then about a year later, I started actually like watching his radio program. He does news commentary for KPFK, and he also has a lot of social media, and he also does a lot of activism um, to promote the Black community in Los Angeles and nationwide, really. But that's where he's primarily stationed. Um, I've been watching his show for quite some time. He does appreciate my comments and shouts out my name once in a while. But I looked at his YouTube channel, and this is something that he and I kind of went back and forth on social media. It doesn't look like he's loaded anything to his YouTube channel for about 2 years. But he was very thankful that I was promoting him out on my YouTube channel a little while ago. It was a couple months back, I think. So I'm gonna do you a solid, Earl. I'm gonna screen record this last episode that you did, and put it up on my channel. Let's go.
All right, welcome to a special edition of the Hutchinson Report Town Hall, Facebook live stream Town Hall. Tonight, guilty or not guilty? Guilty or not guilty? Or somewhere in between? What are we talking about? Or more particularly, who are we talking about? Kyle Rittenhouse, 17 years old, last year in August, went to Kenosha, Wisconsin.
I apologize about the lip sync thing. Sorry, I get sneezy and at night. Okay, I apologize about the lip sync thing. It's apparently either a Facebook thing, or it could potentially be the technology to do with my phone. But anyway, I do apologize for that. Just listen. They come in threes, right? Okay, just listen to his words.
The rest is history. 3 individuals were shot. 2, of course, were killed. The individuals were Joseph Rosenbaum and Anthony Huber. And, of course, Gage Rose-Cross was also wounded. 2 dead, 1 wounded. 6 charges that had been leveled against Kyle Rittenhouse. Not only the double homicide, that's there, but also other charges too, lesser charges. They include second-degree intentional homicide and, of course, first-degree reckless homicide. In addition to that, he was 17 at the time, a minor, so he faces or could face a misdemeanor charge of illegally possessing a gun. So you have that, and you have 5 other counts too. So we have a number of things that are on the table for discussion. But if you are a jury and you were on the jury, there are 12 of them. And by the way, Rittenhouse, he was able to pick, very unusual. Legal experts said they never or rarely had seen this before, where the defendant is allowed to pick out of the draw the names of the jurors, prospective jurors. There were 18 that sat there for 2 weeks and that heard proceedings, both the defense and, of course, the prosecution and the judge. But in addition to that, at the end, there's only 12 that would make a decision. So,
wait, did you all just hear what he said? He said the defendant was able to pick the jurors. That's what he just said. Because normally it's the prosecution and the defense, they have to agree upon the jurors. He's saying that Rittenhouse got to pick his jurors. This is way more stacked than I initially thought.
12 jurors face a decision. Multiple counts that he's charged with, including the main ones, 2 counts of first-degree murder. If you're a juror and you're sitting there, you have been picked, you're one of the 12, what would you do? What would you do with Kyle Rittenhouse? Would you buy the defense attorney's claim that it was self-defense? He shot to protect himself. Would you buy the defense attorney's claim that he was innocent? 17 years old, a kid, a child. Would you buy his claim and the defense attorney's claim? He went to Kenosha, Wisconsin during the unrest over Jacob Blake, the shooting of Jacob Blake, an African American, by two cops. Would you buy his explanation? Why are you there? I was there to help people. All right, give me your thoughts. As we go through this Facebook live stream town hall, I'll be thankful.
I didn't get to see this whole thing. So I doubt he is covering this particular angle of the story, because Earl doesn't generally get into the weeds. But, you know, the question, this defense argument that he was protecting property, that particular argument is being propagated right now by Jimmy Dore, by Lauren Steiner. She was the first person that I saw doing this, because I try not to pay attention to that network, but so many of my activist friends are actually like watching and monitoring what they're doing that it's come to my attention. And Jimmy Dore is pushing this out as well. This is white supremacist talking points, and if you all haven't figured out that they're white supremacists yet, I don't even know what to tell you, because they've been doing this bullshit for years.
Thanking people, acknowledging people, waving to people. I've got one person to wave to right now, Marion Lindsay, and who's a regular, and we certainly appreciate that, Marion, and a supporter. But let other people know, this is your opportunity to weigh in. You as a juror, you sat on the jury, how would you vote? By the way, this Facebook live stream town hall tonight. It's just not us and you talking to yourself on Facebook. It's much more than that. We invited a number of individuals to watch. We went to Kenosha, Wisconsin, and we notified the judge, defense attorneys, and the prosecutors. We notified the press. We notified a number of elected officials. So there's a huge audience. A lot of them have spotters. They're not going to weigh in, but they watch our live stream. So your opinion definitely counts. What do you think? What do you say? How do you feel? If you are a juror and you were tasked with making a decision about Kyle Rittenhouse, the first person I want to, and by the way,
hang tight here for a second. So something that you should know about Earl Ofari Hutchinson, who does the Hutchinson Report. He is also followed by the Biden campaign and the Harris campaigns. He is a very well-known black activist in Los Angeles, and he is followed by some high-level people. And yeah, he does exactly what he just said he does. He alerts the press, he alerts all the parties, and says, hey, I'm going to be covering this topic. And they do watch, and they do get the feedback. That's why I'm exceptionally appreciative that he has noticed me and he likes to call out my name.
Comments, post them right away. I'll be reading them. The first person, Marion Lindsay. Let me wave at her and thank her. Thank you, Marion, for joining us. So far, you're our only guest on the town hall. But my guess is, as we move along, of course, it will have others that will weigh in. Okay, let me read a few things here. And this was a New York Times piece. Complex legal issues. The trial of Kyle Rittenhouse, which has played out over the past 2 weeks, has seen the Times to come down to a matter of deciding whether Rittenhouse was acting in self-defense when he shot 3 men amid demonstrations in Kenosha, Wisconsin, or whether he was committing serious crimes, including first-degree intentional homicide. Okay, we have one comment in the door, the first one, Pedro Baez from Sun City, Arizona. He was looking for trouble, carrying a gun on a crowded street, guilty. All right, that's one guilty. Okay, Marion and Pedro and others that are watching, how do you buy the argument, the self-defense argument, that essentially the video or some videos captured some of the crowd attacking him, in fact, beating him, kicking him? Would you buy the fact that he said, hey, my life is in danger. I'm under attack. I have the right to defend myself. That's one of the things that he has posited, and certainly the defense attorneys have played heavily on that. All right, your thoughts on that? If you are a prosecutor, how would you counter that? The additional thing is when he said, and when he was asked, what the heck were you doing in Kenosha in the first place? You're 17 years old. Don't they have summer school in August? I mean, a lot of kids, 17 years old, they're in high school. Why weren't you in a classroom? And what are you doing running around Kenosha, Wisconsin during protests and demonstrations with an assault rifle, an AK-47? That doesn't look like someone who is there just to help someone. It's not exactly my image of someone who I would call Helen Keller, the Red Cross.
Yeah, some of the arguments that I've seen, from the progressive side of the house is why isn't this kid also getting the special circumstances where he's connected to gangs? Because he's posed in pictures with like the Proud Boys and stuff. He clearly went there with intent. This whole argument that he was defending businesses is bullshit. And the judge, not only did he say that they couldn't call the people that he killed victims and the people that he shot victims, but he also suppressed a video of Kyle saying that he wanted to shoot other activists a week earlier. He clearly had a desire to kill people, and that evidence was suppressed. That's why this judge needs to be investigated.
Traveler's aid, no, or a paramedic. I think it's a little bit more than that. So, again, your thoughts on that. So far, we have Pedro Baez and we have Marion Lindsay. They're the first in the door. So, again, on our Facebook live stream town hall tonight, I'm asking you, guilty or not guilty? Your thoughts about that. Guilty or not guilty? It's really, when you think about it, this trial, it's really, once again, and we've seen this time and time again, the American criminal justice system, more specifically, the American judicial system, is on trial. There are many things here and many elements to this. Number one, does someone have the right with an assault weapon to take a life, even when they claim they're acting out of self-defense? The second thing is, we see, and this has been said time and time again over the last couple of weeks during the trial, even before that, before the guy ever got to a courtroom, how he's treated a young white kid versus, say, a Trayvon Martin, a young black kid. We certainly know many of us know the Trayvon Martin saga. You have a kid that's treated with kid gloves, had a massive defense fund, had Trump weighing in on it, basically apologizing for him. You have folk running around all over the place, free Kyle. Court TV took a poll, 72% said not guilty. So the kid glove treatment, including over and over describing him as a kid. Now, I don't remember that routinely with Trayvon Martin. And then his mother, she was not indicted as an accessory or aiding and abetting, but the fact of the matter is his mother did. But there's a sympathetic portrayal of the mother, not an indictment, not a prosecution, but a caring, loving parent. I don't remember that description.
That's so fucking crazy. This woman, oh my God, what just happened here? Where is it? Okay, what just happened? I just lost the fucking video. Am I still even recording? Hang on, let me go back to this. Let me see if I can figure this out. That's so crazy. It's so crazy.
Well, Trayvon Martin's parents, they were in courtroom. They were there in the Zimmerman trial. They were very vocal in terms of supporting and outraged, expressing their outrage what happened to their son. I don't remember the sympathetic treatment of him. So even there, we see a double standard. Certainly I can never remember in my history a judge giving water to a defendant crying and having hankies given to him, and given much liberty on the stand to tell his story. All right, Marcia, welcome. Been a while. Greetings, everyone. I'm waving to Marcia. Carlos Muhammad, welcome. Okay, Carlos, let's see. He definitely went looking for trouble. He went with a rifle, prepared to shoot. Guilty as sin. And Carlos, I noticed guilty as sin in capital letters. All right, welcome again to those that have joined the Hutchinson Report Facebook live stream town hall. Guilty or not guilty? Kyle.
I just wanted to make sure I'm still recording because that last little thing just totally confused me. But yeah, the mom absolutely supported the jackass kid in all of his actions. So she's an accessory. She's an accessory to murder.
Rittenhouse. Self-defense or not? Aggression or not? Maybe a lesser charge. Maybe reckless endangerment. That's one of the charges.
Oh,
certainly a misdemeanor charge against him as a 17-year-old.
He went there to hunt people. If the judge obviously doesn't give a shit if white boys like these Columbine boys, hunt people down. The judge obviously doesn't give a shit. But this is what our society has become, and we have to figure out how to deal with this and fix our criminal justice system so that this doesn't happen again.
For carrying a weapon. All right, so there are a lot of things. And by the way, the judge, who is not exactly the paragon of objectivity, the judge actually gave the jury instructions. Yes, it is permissible to weigh lesser charges. That's almost a get out of prison pass there. It's almost hint, hint, take the hint. Really, the hint is no charges. A poll from over 1,000 individuals that Court TV took today, asking the same question, guilty or not guilty, 70 and astounding. Actually, I was astounded, that high. An astounding 72% said not guilty. Okay, if you have a not...
Oh my God, even. And the thing is that basically you're going to tell this kid who murdered 2 people and severely damaged a third person, you are going to tell this kid that he can get away with it again. So we're going to have another OJ setup where basically the court system is, because look, when the OJ verdict came out, I was in mediation with my ex-husband. And we were, the mediation room was the only waiting room that had a television in the entire Orange County court system building where we were. So every lawyer in the building piled into that room. Every lawyer in the building piled into that room. And when they announced the verdict as not guilty, there was the loudest groan I've ever heard. Oh, it was amazing. I can tell you straight up right now that if they find this kid innocent on the charges, you're going to see the exact same thing happen as what happened to OJ. That they will find a way to prosecute that motherfucker for something else.
Guilty verdict. Think of the implications and the consequences of that. The fact of the matter is now someone can actually carry a gun and use an excuse if they want to gun someone down in any circumstance, that I, in fact, was under attack and I acted in self-defense. I've heard of self-defense with a handgun. I've heard of self-defense with a knife. I've heard of self-defense with a toothpick. I've never heard of self-defense. This is one for the books with an AK-47 and an assault weapon, a weapon of mass destruction. Okay, let's see who else is weighing in. Marcia, we have that. Okay, Marion, Shirley, welcome. Let me wave at Shirley Patton Holland. All right, Shirley, give us a comment, your thought. Guilty or not guilty? We've got about, Marcia, thank you, guilty. Everybody's putting that in capital letters. Okay, I'm asking though, is there anyone that in our viewing audience that actually sees any merit whatsoever in Kyle Rittenhouse's defense attorneys and their certainly admonition to the jury and the judge and the court and the world? I acted in self-defense. Is there anything to that? Now, We did have, or rather I did, on my Facebook pages when I, followed the case very closely, and I've been posting very diligently about it, different aspects and observations of the case, the drama around it, and the consequences for beyond him and it, and of course the tragedy of lives lost, but also the criminal justice system. It's on trial too. I've been very concerned in how, and also the double standards too, been very concerned that people don't become complacent, that people weigh in on this, that people voice their opinion about this. Because even though the victims in this case were non-African American, non-Hispanic, non-people of color, they're still individuals that have families, that have loved ones that were killed, that are dead. And one was a very young man, 26 years old, not much older than Kyle Rittenhouse. So we have a tragedy here with victims. Where is their voice? Where are their advocates? Where are the sympathetic things being written and said about them in the press? I haven't seen that. Perhaps you have. Enlightened me. Okay, Marcia, you say the white privilege is glaring in this case. White skin privilege. Yes, it is. There's no other way to put it. There's no other way you can't sugarcoat this. You can't sweep it under the rug and you can't deny it. White privilege, and that was the other thing, is on trial. The fact is, you had a kid, you bent over backward, giving him every consideration under the sun, both within the court and without the court. Yes, Marcia, you are dead right. White privilege is very much there. But then again, should that surprise? That's always been the case in the criminal justice system. If not, we wouldn't be having this discussion now. You have our prisons and jails, a disproportionate number, a grossly disproportionate a number and percentage of African American men and increasingly women, in prisons and jails, about 53%. So the fact of the matter is very few young whites, angelic looking, well scrubbed, well heeled from a working class or even a middle class household. They're not packing the jail cells in the prisons. They're not doing that. They're not being warehoused there. We are. All right, Marcia. The judge is treating the victims like they were black because the murdered victims were BLM social justice activists. Marcia, you're right. They did lose their white man status. The minute they became activists, anti-police abuse, misconduct, and threw in their lot with Black Lives Matter, sorry, they became fair game at that point.
He's not wrong at all. Marcia, that was an excellent point. Once my neighbors discovered that I was a progressive, that I was covering the BLM protests, they gave me a MAGA parade in front of my house. And they harassed me pretty much nonstop for several months, and then off and on ever since. We do give up our white privilege when we decide that we're going to fight for this, but not entirely. I mean, we still have some level of white privilege, but we become targets too, and we can die pretty much just as easily just for showing up at these events. It's scary. I mean, I almost feel ashamed to be scared of this because I know that Black people grow up with this as a reality of their existence. And I'm just now experiencing what it's like, and it's scary.
That's tantamount to the Old South. Remember Goodman, Schwerny, the white civil rights workers, Viola Liuzzo, Reverend Reed, many whites that went south, in defense and support of black rights. They were, absolutely mercilessly savaged by whites. They were basically NIGs, and they were treated as such. They were treated even worse and brutalized even worse, if you can believe that, than blacks. So you're right, Marcia. They lost their white past when they threw in their lot and joined forces with Black Lives Matter. All right, let's see. We have any others? Marion, you here, of course. Carlos Muhammad, we already thanked you. Any others? Let's see. All right, we are going to go about 5 more minutes. Let me read a little bit more from the New York Times. Again, tonight on our town hall, this guy Does this look like self-defense to you? Kyle Rittenhouse, he claims it is. He said he acted in self-defense. Does it look like self-defense to you? All right, your thought on that. On our Facebook town hall, live stream town hall. Again, a number of people are watching. They have spotters and criminal justice advocates, defense attorneys, prosecutors, politicals. Many in the media are watching. So your opinion and your voice carries a lot of weight. There are a lot of people that are watching. Is this the picture of someone who acted in self-defense? Talk to me. Closing arguments are expected Monday. Of course, that was yesterday, and they did. Judge Bruce Schroeder, our good friend the judge, indicated on Friday that he would let the jury consider offenses less serious than the ones Rittenhouse stands charged with, but did not formally announce what those charges might be. If it was up to this judge, probably no charges. All right, the question on whether Rittenhouse's actions were crimes or legal acts may hinge on jurors' understanding of self-defense law. Wisconsin law generally allows a person to shoot in self-defense if they reasonably believe it is necessary to avoid being killed or badly hurt. Jurors will get instructions on how to parse that law, including how to consider whether Rittenhouse acted reasonably. That's the operative word, reasonably. But legal observers said the issue sometimes comes down to jurors' personal views. And this is where it gets tricky. In other words, when they say personal views, I would even expand that a little bit more. Not only personal views, but political views. So we have a situation here where no one is unbiased. No one, despite what they say, can completely be objective. People have opinions. People have thoughts. People have their views that are colored or discolored by their experiences, both life and otherwise. Why would that be any different with jurors? And why would that be any different in the Rittenhouse case? So you've got a situation here where you've got a young white kid. Remember, that's been emphasized over and over again. That's been driven home. That's been impressed on people. This is a child. And when we think of children, we think of innocence. Oh, they may cut up. Oh, they may be misguided. But nonetheless, they're there to be nurtured, mentored, and protected. We see a lot of that creeping into the courtroom with the demeanor of the judge, even to an extent the prosecutors, and we will know very soon about the jurors. The criminal justice system stands once again on trial. Let's see, we have thanked a lot of people, and let's see if we have anyone else. Okay, Jenna Beck, let me wave at you. Thank you, Jenna. You always have an opinion, a very well thought out opinion, and I don't see that. Okay, Jenna, you do. I hope that they get at least some sort of conviction, but I'm absolutely disgusted by all of this. The judge must be investigated for ethics violations. He's certainly been anything but objective and unbiased, and he's been a disgrace to the judiciary system. But he's a Trump judge, a Trumpite judge. I mean, in Wisconsin, very conservative, law and order guy. And, you know, when they look at him, they look at his background, that basically he's a hard-nosed, hard-line guy. So if he's not very hard-line and hard-nosed with the Rittenhouse, maybe hard-line and hard-nosed with Jenna Beck, Earl O'Farrell Hutchinson, or a young African-American or Hispanic-American, totally different there. Okay, we have about...
Say my name, say my name.
5 minutes left. Any closing thoughts on Kyle Rittenhouse? I'm asking, guilty or not guilty, or somewhere in between? Does this look like, in your opinion, someone who acted in self-defense? Does this look like someone who's innocent? I did nothing. I was just there to protect myself against harm, bad harm. In other words, my life is in peril. Does this look like someone who is an innocent kid? K-I-D, quotation marks around. Once again, we're going to close this out in about 1 more minute. I think everybody, well, let me get one more comment. Marcia, you had one here. Weigh in. Carlos, thanks again. Okay, white nationalism. He looks like a Columbine. Let's see. Social justice. Activists do not bring guns to protests and marches. Rittenhouse went there with an agenda. I don't think there's any doubt about that. All right. I want to thank everybody again for joining me. This will be posted on my Facebook page. We'll also YouTube it too. So it will be there. You can comment on it. You can also, both of my Facebook pages. And you can continue the dialogue. My guess is we will have a...
Oh, he is going to YouTube it. Okay. Because I went to his channel and it looked like the last video you posted was like 2 years ago. All right, let's go.
The jury's out. This is Tuesday night. So the verdict will probably come back probably at the latest, no later than Thursday. I'm not going to give my prediction. Like you, Jenna, I'm disgusted by the whole thing, even if there are lesser charges. The fact of the matter is, you went there with an assault weapon. You crossed state lines. You went there, you shouldn't have been there in the first place, but you were. And so by your very presence with an assault weapons, that tells me everything I need to know about my question, guilt or innocence. Thank you. You thanked me, and I want to thank you as always for joining. Once again, tell a friend, tell an associate, tell an acquaintance. We are in fact posting this, and you can continue the dialogue with others. Make your comments on the Facebook live stream and the Hutchinson Report Facebook pages. Join me, by the way, on Saturday on the Earl O'Farrell Hutchinson Show on Pacifica Radio, KPFK 90.7, 9 to 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. One more comment. I think this is very important. Let me dial this up. Jenna, he looks like a Columbine shooter. Pedro, good question that's been asked many times by a number of legal experts. And of course, we're still waiting for an answer. Question. Why wasn't his mother put on trial, or at least certainly charged with aiding and abetting? She was an accomplice. By the way, that's a felony offense. No, she's in court screaming bloody murder. My son is innocent. My son was only defending himself. My son's life was in danger. So she's a mother, not a defendant. She should have been. All right, I want to thank everybody once again for joining me on the Hutchinson Report Facebook live stream, our town hall. Is this the face? Is this the posture? Is this the picture of innocence? Thanks for.
Okay, so apparently he does intend to load this to his channel, but I'm glad that it covered it anyway because I wasn't entirely positive. It doesn't look like he's been loading stuff to his channel. But Earl is a great follow, and he and I have been friends on Facebook since 2018, and I very much appreciate that he recognizes the people on his friends list when he does these live streams. He broadcasts every Saturday at 9 a.m. for KPFK. He does a radio show. He's always, it's a very kind of old school talk radio show where he takes calls from everybody, and he has like regular callers who come in who are Republicans and try and present, the opposing opinions. And Earl very much acts like a moderator. He's like, I'm going to pose a question. Let's see what you have to say. He's obviously left-leaning, but at the same time, he does try and moderate in a very fair way. And I think that's pretty great because that's how you do convince people to your side, is by hearing them and listening to them and then saying, but have you considered? Earl is a great follow. You should check him out. He's primarily on Facebook.